Good evening and welcome to the news. As usual, we have an hour and a half of reports with unique insight on issues that affect Nigeria and Nigerians. We'll be in locations in different parts of the nation to bring you updates on unfolding events and new perspectives on national issues. Tonight, the federal government commits 1 billion naira to port infrastructure to drive investment in the maritime sector. On aviation, Nigeria on the runway to better services, reduction in airfare and better infrastructure triggering optimism. Sadly, fire got shops and houses in Kano and Lagos as experts insist more vigilance and preventive measures. On infrastructure development, we have a special report on the Abuja Metro line and the timeline to its completion. Of course, our regular packages on the environment, agriculture, the judiciary, youth development and sports are on our lineup. And of course, Benny Adams is ready to mind his business. Let's man this ship together. After all, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. I'm Yen Ray John, and this is News Extra. Welcome. Let's hit the road now as members of the reconstituted National Council on Skills have been advised to focus on building a skilled workforce in the country. Vice President Kashim Shettima, while inaugurating the council, outlined strategies to be adopted in achieving this goal. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila brings us details.
I warmly welcome you to this meeting and officially inaugurate the reconstituted National Councils on Skills.
A skilled nation is one that has paved its road to the future. This is a reminder from Vice President Kashim Shettima to the reconstituted council as the administration is aware of the realities the nation is facing and recognizes the monumental task ahead.
So I implore each of you to embrace this national assignment wholeheartedly and actively engage in discussions that will propel our skills ecosystem forward. This council has set out to guide our understanding of the needs of our people and the opportunities they seek to earn a dignified living and compete on a global scale.
Since its inception in 2019, the National Council on Skills has been a strong force in providing policy direction for the skills ecosystem, pledging to address lack of standardization and regulation currently hindering the sector's full potential. Vice President said central to this commitment is the recognition of the informal sector's substantial contribution to the nation's growth domestic product.
Set the agenda for this very, very important council to provide skills for young men, young girls for the country. As you know, skilling our youth is one of the most important windows through which we can provide them with a livelihood where they can have a way of providing for themselves and engage with the economy.
And with the kind of industries that we have that skilled labor that is recognized. So yes, the organized private sector is very interested, and in particular Dangote Industries is very keen on upgrading the skill sets of our labor and of our youth.
During the meeting, stakeholders highlighted the significance of the Nigerian Skills Qualification Framework Bill, noting other salient issues such as the harmonization of skills development efforts in the country and exploring partnership arrangements to fund skills development in Nigeria. What remains now is for the stakeholders to see skills development as low-hanging fruit for the government to attain its objective of creating opportunities and diversifying the economy through industrialization. From the State House, Abdurrahman Jibrila, NTA News.
And here comes touring news on the execution of government policies and projects. This is because the implementation of the entirety of the 2023 Appropriation Act and the supplementary budget have been extended to June 30th, 2024. Senate at plenary Wednesday reenacted the acts and granted accelerated passage to the bills as requested by President Tinubu. National Assembly correspondent Lamiali reports.
These extensions are necessary to ensure that the provisions of the acts are exhaustively implemented.
President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, read the communications at the commencement of plenary, after which the request received expeditious consideration.
The request came from the President today, necessary to get these bills passed. This will give the chance for all those projects, those vital national projects that their implementations have so far started to get completed.
The President also transmitted to the Senate a bill seeking prescription of salaries and other emoluments for judicial officers in tune with economic realities for consideration and passage. Plenary featured the second reading of 3 bills, including the bill that seeks amendments to the Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Act to include the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit and the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency in surveillance and prevention of money laundering in Nigeria.
Provide an upper threshold for reporting suspicious transactions and to expand the scope of matters that reporting entities can consider.
Senate has passed the Student Loans Access to Higher Education Act Amendment Bill to ensure seamless implementation. The motion from Senator Idiato Luranti seeking collective efforts to tackle the challenge of out-of-school children in Nigeria was supported.
Urge governments at all levels to implement targeted intervention programs that will address all the factors militating against free access to quality and basic education, particularly multidimensional poverty and insecurity.
Any society that neglects or relegates education to the background does so at the risk of its own peril.
There was this concept of nomadic education. That concept would have saved what we are seeing today as banditry. But along the line, a lot of politics came up, and it was disbanded.
And we urge the appropriate agency or department to publish, as I know they used to do, but this time to make it in newspapers, state by state, including FCT, the percentage of out-of-school children. So we can see the governors and the states that are more guilty of this.
Senate also paid tribute to the late Olubadan.
Oba Dr. Mahmoud Lekan Balogun, the 42nd Olubadan of Badaland, a revered monarch and a former senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
To all of us, he was a father like none.
May the soul of Oba Dr. Mahmoud Lekan Balogun, the Olubadan of Ibadan, rest in perfect peace.
Plenary has been adjourned to Tuesday, 16th April 2024. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
And still in the National Assembly, the House of Representatives has passed 2 bills for acts to extend the implementation year of the 2023 national budget and its supplementary components from March 31, 2024 to June 30, 2024. The Green Chamber has also given judicial office holders in the country reasons to smile as it has approved and passed into law an act to prescribe new salaries, allowances and fringe benefits for them. National Assembly correspondent Mitari Ikpem has the details of Wednesday's plenary.
Lawmakers at plenary suspended relevant standing rules of the House for expeditious consideration and passage of executive bills.
To amend the Appropriation Act.
Following President Tinubu's request, 2 bills seeking 3 months extension of implementation timeline of the 2023 budget and the supplementary component were passed.
Looking at the cumbersome nature of our Procurement Act, which will not allow the government to implement the budget within that delimited period. So there is need for us to extend to June so that the budget will be implemented effectively for the good governance of Nigeria.
And therefore I approve clauses 1 to 3 and explanatory memorandum
and the long title of the bill.
The House also passed into law the bill making judicial office holders to now be entitled to new salaries, allowances and fringe benefits prescribed in the Act. The salaries and allowances, elevated to reflect changing economic realities, take effect from 1st January 2024.
Mr. Speaker, the last time the salaries and the benefits allowance of judicial officers were reviewed was 2007. Meaning, Mr. Speaker and Mr. Chairman, that they've been stagnant over this period of time. So I really want to commend Mr. President for forwarding this bill to the House.
Prohibition of multiple allowances. Carried. The third is monitoring compliance. Carried. Fourth is power of the President to vary the schedule to this Act. Carried.
Lawmakers equally passed the Student Loans Access to Higher Education Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2024. The bill, when signed into law, paves way for the establishment of the Nigerian Education Loan Fund that will disburse and recover loans to students for higher education, vocational training and skills acquisition. Lawmakers condemned what they call the abuse and proliferation of orphanage homes in the country.
Turning orphanage into baby factories, where teenage girls are accommodated to produce babies, which are sold and used for rituals and other heinous activities. Mandate Committee on Women Affairs and Social Development to liaise with the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, both to ensure standardization of orphanage homes and close those under resource.
The House has adjourned plenary to April 16, 2024 for the Easter and Salah break. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Minister of State for Defense, Bello Muhammad Matawale, says the 2024 budget of the Defense Health Maintenance Limited will ensure effective operation in support of the armed forces of Nigeria. The minister stated this during the 34th meeting of the Board of Directors of the organization at the Ship House. Addressing the board members, Matawale notes that the estimated budget demonstrates that President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda is making welfare matters of the Nigerian military a top priority. The minister says the Defense Health Maintenance Limited is living up to expectation in providing healthcare services to veterans and urges the agency to be prudent and effective in managing resources. Now, Senate has urged members of the public to volunteer information as it commences investigation into last Thursday's killing of officers and soldiers in Okwama community in Delta State. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, and other service chiefs were at the National Assembly Wednesday evening as the Senate Joint Committee on Defense, Army, Navy and Armed Forces opens investigation on the tragic incident. The Joint Committee extends condolence to President Tinubu and the armed forces over the loss, restating commitment to do all it takes to ensure that such never happens again.
We will always support our military in whatever way we can. I will take this opportunity to commend our armed forces for doing so much with so little that we can always afford. We hope we can do better, and we are very, very prayerful and confident that resources will be better going forward.
Similarly, Governor of Bayo State, Senator Doyediri, has called for support to the military and other security agencies so the killers of the 17 soldiers in Okwama community in Delta State can be brought to justice. The governor, in a statement by his Chief Press Secretary Daniel Alabra, notes that Bayo State, being a host to military stations, strongly condemns the killings, expressing deep condolence to the army and families of the slain military personnel that are cherished members of the communities they are located and the state. The governor has also directed all the security commanders in the state, as well as the coordinator of the Bayelsa Community Safety Corps, Brigadier General Eric Angaye, retired, to scale up surveillance and patrol of the state's borders and the waterways. Governor Doye Diri urged people of the state, particularly residents of Igbo community in southern Ijo local government area, to remain calm as the government will ensure that law-abiding citizens are protected and safe at all times. Civil-military cooperation, a coalition of civil society groups, has condemned the gruesome murder of military personnel in Delta State, calling for justice. At a joint press briefing in Abuja, the group noted that the Nigerian Armed Forces and other security agencies are critical institutions that must not be undermined.
While awaiting justice, which we demand, we call on the culprits and perpetrators to immediately, without delay, turn in themselves for investigation in order to unravel the entire motive behind the gruesome attack.
Resolving trauma of these people is not enough to pay some money or just give them the benefits of the people, but the trauma, how you resolve it over time and calm them down.
The issue of effective local government administration to reduce the nation's ungoverned space was also brought to the fore.
It's also the issue of the lack of presence or the lack of authority of the traditional rulers. This is a time for us to bring them on board and give them responsibilities, particularly as it regards knowing and identifying and probably getting those miscreants within their communities arrested.
The group commiserates with the armed forces and families of the victims, advocating for adequate compensation. Looking at other issues now, the federal government says $1 billion is being invested to revamp ports infrastructure in Nigeria to drive investment in the maritime sector. Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Boyega Oyetola, announced this as he inaugurated a 4.8-kilometer road and 6 mooring boats at One Port, Rivers State. Kingsley Amajiri reports.
The visit by the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy is part of measures by the government to further enhance the ease of doing business at One Port. This is at a time the current administration is poised to expanding opportunities in the marine and blue economy towards harnessing untapped potential in the sector.
I've been briefed on the growth in numbers, especially from ports, exports emanating from the One Port complex, and I'm impressed and poised to provide the facilitation and advocacy required to grow the vessels traffic to this important nucleus of growth.
Inaugurating a 4.8-kilometer road D project and 6 mooring boats at the One complex, the minister highlighted the commitment of the ministry to leverage Nigeria's maritime resources for national prosperity.
Most of the traffic, particularly cargo, that has been taken to neighboring countries is because we're here to do a lot of things in terms of infrastructure. So that is part of what we're trying to do. That was why I said that we're looking at putting not less than about $1 billion investment to rehabilitate all the ports, to make them more efficient. And by that extension, you can be too sure that the revenue of the federal government will increase.
Managing Director, Nigerian Ports Authority, NTA Mohammed Bello Koko, says completion of the multiple projects being inaugurated is a significant portion of untapped potential, while also providing link to the new berths 9, 10, 11 and 12 at the Federal Ocean Terminal, One.
The Honourable Minister is also working with the Honourable Minister of Works and Housing to ensure that the access road to the ports is also constructed. So everything that is being done in Lagos is also being done in the eastern ports to encourage use of the ports. We have given concessions in terms of rates in some of the ports in the east, just to encourage importers and exporters to use it.
The minister also inspected facilities at One and Port Harcourt ports to appraise the state of the infrastructure there. In Port Harcourt, Kingsley Amajiri, NTA News.
Many thanks, Kingsley. Let's now turn our attention to air travel. If you have traveled by air in recent times, you will understand why air travelers have been smiling recently at airports. Well, airfares to various destinations within the country are nosediving, a development many attribute to the policy direction of the renewed hope agenda of the present administration, as well as transparency and accountability. In this report, Aliyu Kabir examines this new development and its sustainability.
Towards the end of 2023 and in the beginning of 2024, January precisely, Nigerian air travelers have experienced significant increase in the cost of airfare, depending on the destination, perhaps due to the rising in the cost of aviation fuel, fluctuations in the foreign exchange rate, and the disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, among others. These challenges have been surmounted recently, with the airfare drastically dropping to an affordable price.
I know initially it went for return trip from Abuja to Kano to about 300,000, but now it's reduced to about 180, 170,000, which is slightly better than it was.
The first time I booked online, it was saying about 100 and something thousand from Abuja to Calabar. So I waited some days later and it came to about 104,000 plus. So I booked at that time. Then later, some few days later, I checked again, it was 70 something. I was like, why the fluctuating of price like that? Sometimes, after a while, I now found out again it was about 65,000 naira.
There was a time we paid as much as 300,000 to go to Port Harcourt and back. But the ticket I have now, return ticket, is about 220.
They also expressed concern on other issues such as delay and the cancellation of flights, as well as security, giving kudos to the authority concerned for prompt response.
The airlines are more prompt. You know, when they're going to experience any delay, they inform the passengers on time.
I'm really angry because I just got information that my flight has been delayed to 7:45.
The Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA, through the Director of Public Affairs and Consumer Protection, reaffirmed determination to always give attention to customer satisfaction and comfort, to attracting investment in the aviation sector and improve revenue generation.
Very recently, the NCAA set up a high-powered committee to look into the possibilities of reducing airfares generally. Now the problem has been that globally, airfares are not regulated anywhere in the world, but government can engage airlines to be reasonable about these things, and that's what the NCAA, under the leadership of Captain Chris Najomo, has done. Also on the instruction of the Honorable Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, who has shown great concern for consumer protection in Nigeria, and this is very commendable. So we engage the airlines here, every single one of them. And we've gotten the commitment of majority of them to look into those issues.
The director also stated that government is determined to sustain the development.
Again, important to mention that Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has, in his wisdom, cleared off the vast majority of trap funds for these airlines. So it's easier now for them to reciprocate by reducing these airfares. So it's a combination of all of these factors, and we keep engaging them.
It is expected that Nigerians will continue to benefit more of this reduction, as government is committed to improving the general welfare of Nigerians in all aspects of human endeavors. In Abuja, Aliyu Kabir, NTA News.
Interesting development there, I'm sure you agree. And I have joining me now Olumide Onhuayo, an aviation analyst. Many thanks for joining us on News Extra.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so from that report, you heard passengers talking about reduction in fares. What could be responsible for that? Because, of course, the increase in airfares started after COVID-19. What's the situation at the moment, and why are travelers smiling?
Well, up till about last week, I came in from Lagos, and then I still paid about 200,000 naira. But during my stay over the weekend, by the time I checked for a friend that was going to come in next week, I got about 150,000 naira for the friend. So you can see that fluctuation in the in a ticket fare, and that fluctuation is normally determined by the airline's booking system, which works on demand and supply. And as you know, for most tickets, you get good fare when you book ahead, when you avoid flight time that most people want to travel. You pick the late ones or very early ones. So all those helps in helping you with a better fare that you get. So, but then it's commendable that the Civil Aviation Authority was able to come together and look at how they can bring down the fares. It's commendable. The process has not ended. They need to still do some work on the taxes that comes to the government agencies and all other payments or services by the service providers that have made the airlines to be finding very difficult to breathe.
In your own view, do you think this has come to stay? You know, I mean, should Nigerians expect this to be permanent? Or
I sincerely doubt that, because those things that form the products for the flight to operate are still not favorable. Aviation fuel is about 35 to 40% of the operating cost of the airline. As of today, it's 1,300 per liter. Early last year, it was 400 naira per liter. So, if the fuel that's going to make the aircraft fly is that high, definitely the airlines will definitely have to fix their price according to the cost of fuel. Again, if you look at the taxes, let me take Ghana Road for instance. The taxes for the airport taxes, but Lagos and Ghana is about $190. When you add the one for the NCAA, the air service charge, and ground handling, you're looking at about $250 to $260 alone for taxes. When you have $260 for taxes, you're looking at $260 dollars will be giving you, that's about 300,000 naira already, without putting the airlines fare. So there are a lot of governments that help the price to come, like not only the airline alone, the agencies, the taxes and charges. That was why my organization, the Aviation Roundtable, worked on that in January this year and submitted that proposal to the federal government that there's a need to look at the excess taxes and charges in the industry, and I'm happy to see that the governments are reacting to it.
All right, beautiful, Olumide. Of course, away from airfares, there are other challenges in that sector. What are the things you think we could, do to make it better, to have efficient service delivery in the aviation sector?
Well, we just need, the government just need to continue to support the carriers. We cannot do without having the support of the government. And when the support is not about giving them cash, but we are like putting the necessary conducive environment in place for the airlines to survive. When you have over 80 airlines registered in the last 15 to 20 years, and today you're having about 10 of them, it shows that there's a systemic problem that needs to be addressed, and that problem needs to be addressed. Again, if you look at the international, the Consumer Protection Directorate just mentioned about trapped funds. Trapped funds is meant for the foreign airlines, and the only way you can reduce this incidence of transport is for you to compete. And the bilateral services is clear, but the bilateral air services agreement is very clear. That reciprocity, Nigeria must participate, Nigeria must operate, Nigeria must stand out. And if you look at it now, Airpeace just announced that they're going to start their London flight on March 30th. And the fares on the London route have started dropping. So the easiest way to get fares down, the easiest way to get the best fare is to compete, is to allow the Nigerian airlines
make
to
it
participate.
competitive. All right, beautiful. Because of time, we'll have to rest the conversation at that point. Many thanks, Olumide Onhuayo, for sharing your insight with us on News Extra.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so we'll take a break now. Stay with us. More to come. Welcome back. President Bola Tinubu is seeking the continued cooperation and collaboration of the National Assembly to achieve his objective of a greater Nigeria. The president spoke at a special Ramadan iftar breaking of fast with the Speaker and leadership of the House of Representatives at the State House. President Tinubu, supported by his deputy, Kashim Shettima, again acknowledged the difficult times Nigerians are passing through now and expressed confidence that the good days are almost here. While appreciating the support of the national legislative arm to his administration so far, appeals to the lawmakers to perform their oversight function with the understanding of the separation of power.
I want to take this opportunity to appeal to both houses. I've been watching various committees summoning ministers, head of agencies and everything, and find a way to accommodate one another. I am appealing to you. See if you can accept representatives in some instances. Maybe you need documentations. Don't exercise too much of your powerful position. I appeal to you. Please don't forget your constituencies. Remember what they are going through. I cannot thank all of you enough for what you have been doing. But it's for our country. There's nothing personal in this. It's for Nigeria. And we have no other country except this one. So the challenge is for all of us to see that country, this country in particular, go the right direction, move forward, make our people happy.
Speaker, House of Representatives Tajuddin Abbas equally appreciated the show of love and hand of fellowship extended to them and urged for their commitment to make the country better for all.
This is one moment that I want to urge us all to double in our efforts to make life of Nigerians easier. This is a month where God has said, for every good deed you do, He will double it for you. Likewise, for anything bad you do, He will double it for you. So I want to urge us to use this month to increase our good deeds.
Elsewhere, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, has emphasized that the removal of subsidy on petroleum motor spirit, known as petrol, is a blessing to Nigeria and Nigerians in view of the numerous programs ongoing towards improving the country's social economy. At an interaction with media executives and practitioners in northern Nigeria held in Kano, the minister enumerated post-subsidy programs of the federal government with direct positive impact on the nation's economy through all-round agricultural activities for food security and right policies that are boosting foreign direct investment. He challenged media practitioners to be patriotic and professional, assuring that government policies are geared towards a better Nigeria. Policies by the Central Bank of Nigeria to strengthen the naira against the dollar, matching order to security agencies to curtail banditry and kidnapping, improve revenue to the sub-national governments, and the renewed vigor to revive the nation's refineries are all indications that President Bola Tinubu is walking the talk. Nigeria's First Lady, Oluwabi Tinubu, says establishing a social housing scheme for internally displaced persons in the country can be a solution pathway to help fast-track their resettlement. She offered the recommendation at a meeting with United Nations Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed, who led a delegation of UN team to her office. State House correspondent Adeni Tayo reports.
Aminat Mohammed flies Nigeria's flag high at the United Nations, where she is the Deputy Secretary General of the world body. Her visit to the office of Nigeria's First Lady, Oluwabi Tinubu, is a follow-up to their engagement at the United Nations General Assembly in 2023 in New York, where discussions centered around improving sexual reproductive health of women, IDPs, and youth development.
Talking about women's health.
With some of these issues, especially birth registration, women empowerment, and youth development already on the front burner of our initiative, the First Lady says limited resources at her disposal will be invested in building a future that is safe for all.
is a huge, population. So there are different, we're talking about TB now. Is it there? Yes, HIV, AIDS. So many things. But, I'm there. Trust me, I can tell you that. I'm there, I'm thinking, even if it's a little help, let me do something.
Underscoring the need for the nation to be accountable to its resources going forward, the First Lady called on youths to embrace several initiatives designed to impact them.
So when funds comes in, despite the social problems, there are guidelines that comes with it. Even if I'm receiving money from United Nations, there are guidelines that these are the things we want to do.
By putting women at the center, the health strategy of Nigeria is a laudable one, a fact which the UN Deputy Secretary General took note of.
We will be supporting our country teams to support the government. But I would say the bulk of where resources need to be invested are youth, women and girls. It doesn't leave much out, but this is where we really feel the pressure.
And we wanted to take an initiative to support the government to put a safety net that can help at least the most vulnerable. And I think your voice and your support in this regard will make a big difference.
The engagement between Nigeria's First Lady and the United Nations Deputy Secretary General sure holds a lot of significance for women, the girl child, and other vulnerable sections of the country. This is especially so with the commitment of United Nations to retain its focus on these sections of the society in the implementation of its social agenda. In the State House, Adeni Itaiwo, NTA News.
Away from the State House now, let's head to Kaduna State, where the government has summoned an emergency security meeting with heads of security agencies and stakeholders from 7 local government areas of the state, worst hit by the challenges of insecurity, to urgently discuss ways of adopting new strategies to rescue all abducted students of Kuriga School, including those held captive by bandits in Kajuru. Muhammad Umar Ajinge reports.
Since the abduction of pupils from Kuriga School, as well as the resurging attacks by bandits in Kajuru and other parts of the state, each passing day, the security agencies, community leaders and the Kaduna State government meet to find a lasting solution to the escalating security challenges. This emergency security meeting with stakeholders from the 7 local government areas of Benungwari, Kajuru, Chukun, Igabi, Giwa, among others, is the latest to provide updates on the ongoing efforts to rescue the abducted pupils.
We are gathering here today again to look at other areas that we need to deepen our own engagements. The efforts we are making with relevant security agencies and Mr. President have been doing everything to ensure that our children return back home safely.
Then the meeting went into closed doors. A few hours later, the heads of security agencies briefed newsmen on the outcome of their deliberations.
By the grace of God, they will be out soon. There is deployment of military and police in Kajuru.
Some disgruntled elements that have been penetrating some of the communities. We are suspecting that most of them are informants. And today I've instructed the traditional rulers, the local government chairmen, to fish out most of these strange individuals. I report to the security agencies immediately.
The stakeholders departed with a renewed sense of purpose to play their part in the ongoing rescue efforts. In Kaduna, I am Muhammad Umrajingi, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Senate Committee on ICT and Cyber Crime says the National Assembly is determined to support the renewed hope agenda of the federal government to fight kidnapping with the adoption of technology. This was when the committee visited the Nigeria Police Force National Cyber Crime Center in Abuja. Francis Fom brings us details.
Members of the Senate Committee on ICT and Cybercrime visited the Nigeria Police Force National Cybercrime Center. The use of ICT to power the nation's economic development and to cut the cost of governance are areas of concern for the members.
And today, cybercrimes are on the increase, and the committee were here to see what facilities they have here, what challenges we need to address to ensure that they are able to assist the nation to address the increasing rate of cyber crimes.
A whole lot of new cybercrime trend that is popping up here and there. New technologies are emerging. We need to acquire new technologies. We need to acquire new solutions and tools and things that can enable us to function and to function very well.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives Committee on Police Affairs has assured the Nigeria Police Force that the committee will do everything possible within the ambit of the law to legislate on bills that will address the security challenges affecting the nation. This was when the committee visited the force headquarters.
The essence of the visit is to acquaint the committee members with the working and activities of the force headquarters, considering the merits of security challenges that the nation is faced today.
We had very useful interactions, and especially with regards to addressing the current kidnapping cases in Kaduna and a few other places. Of course, it's been very useful, and they gave us their ideas. We also explained to them what we are doing, and they are satisfied with our efforts so far.
In another development, the Minister of Police Affairs has reiterated the role of the police in enabling ease of doing business in Nigeria, as it requires a secure and stable society where businesses can operate without the fear of crime, corruption, or undue interference. The minister stated this during a meeting with the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council team, led by the Special Advisor to the President on PEBEC and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole in Abuja. Dr. Jumoke requested the ministry's intervention in facilitating ease of doing business in the airports, seaports, and trade corridors to curb the extortion at checkpoints on the roads. Francis from NTA News.
Away from security matters now, the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, has assured Nigerians on the introduction of initiatives aimed at bolstering massive production and providing essential support to farmers amidst the ongoing challenges posed by soaring food prices. This was during an interactive session with the Joint Committee on Agricultural Production, Services and Rural Development. National Assembly correspondent Amina Saidu brings us details.
The Minister of Agriculture said the current administration is prioritizing food security in the 8-point agenda, which will help alleviate the challenges encountered in the country.
There are steps that government has taken under the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and other agencies too, starting from the dry season activities that we have launched, the wheat season, and I'm happy to relate that the wheat is under harvesting now as we speak. We intend to cultivate 250,000 hectares of rice and 55,000 hectares of maize and 30,000 hectares of cassava.
Chairman Senate Committee on Agricultural Production, Services and Rural Development, Saliu Mustafa, said the meeting is to ascertain the status of ongoing projects and sustainability for the development of the nation.
The committee wants a first-hand information, and if need be, we will proceed to see for ourselves where and how some of this have been done. We are committed to ensure that the policies and directives passed are fully implemented.
I think that we must have a plan to say, okay, this issue of rice, for example, is a stopgap. These are the other things we are going to put in place to increase agricultural production so that we can feed ourselves.
The session agreed for a collaborative approach between stakeholders towards achieving core mandates in the sector for sufficient food production in Nigeria. From the National Assembly, Amina Saidu, NTA News.
Another break is due. Stay put. Glad to have you back. Like many farmers across the country, farmers in Kebbi State have been grappling with the high cost of fertilizer. But the good news is that the federal and Kebbi State governments have come to the rescue of farmers. Jaffa Yusuf Ilo will tell us about it.
In the price of fertilizer put a lot of farmers into dilemma, and many farmers can no longer afford to apply adequate fertilizer to their crops.
We cannot afford to buy fertilizer as it is now. If we must apply it to our farms, sincerely speaking, we will run at loss.
But what is the cause of this hike in the price of fertilizer?
I think the high cost of fertilizer is related to the subsidy removal.
The good news is that both the federal and state government are working on bringing succor to farmers. For example, the federal government through Central Bank of Nigeria is donating over 2 million bags of fertilizer to farmers across the country through Federal Ministry of Agriculture. The Kebbi state government is making similar effort through the State Ministry of Agriculture.
We intend as a state government to complement the effort of the federal government by providing more fertilizers and more herbicide. But honestly, we intend to provide solar powered pumps to reduce the cost of production.
An agricultural expert who spoke with NTA News breaks down the ripple effect of government intervention into fertilizer issue.
I'm sure if that is done, if farmers' confidence are restored, I'm sure we are going to get a significant increase in our food security.
This, according to him, will accelerate effort to bring down the cost of food in the country. In Kebbi, Jafar Yusuf Ilo, NTA.
All eyes are now on the planned resumption of the train services within the nation's capital. This is equal to the promise by the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, to inaugurate the Metro line come May this year. Well, May is not so far from now, you may say. In this report, Onoze Yakubu brings us to speed with expectations on the inauguration deadline.
Till now, it's likely that we'll succeed by May.
Those clicking ambiances of construction equipment and site workers in a race with time signify efforts to deliver on pledges. Work on the perimeter fence of the metro station has reached an appreciable level of completion, while the access road to the station has been completed. But at the Kukwaba 2 station, the access road from the Umaru Musa Alwa Expressway by the military cemetery is receiving priority attention by the construction firm handling the project.
Trying to bring down the height of the road down to the levels of the train station so that there will be an access road to the train station right from the road. We've already worked on the car park, as you can see. We are trying to meet up the target so that we can meet up the time frame the minister was given.
The chief security officer of the private security firm guiding the rail tracks, who says the vandalized equipment has been replaced, however raising some security concerns that needs to be addressed by the administration.
The major problem we're having, this place is surrounded by this Ebola. The whole place, if you look at beside Metro here, we have over 1,000 of them. The whole from here to Idu station to airport is surrounded with those people. So whatever we do here, whatever work we do here, if we didn't eliminate them, we didn't send them away from here, all we are doing, we are wasting our time.
Right now, what is happening behind me is the general cleanup of the metro station and other minor repairs, all in a bid to meet the May deadline of inaugurating the Abuja Metro line, in line with the directive of the FCT Minister, Nyesom Wike. From the Abuja Metro station, Onoze Yakubu, NTA News.
Many thanks, Onoze. Of course, Abuja residents look forward to the inauguration of that metro line. Now, let's look at other stories. The emergency meeting summoned by the Minister of Education with Joint Action Committee of the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SANU, and the Non-Academic Staff Union of Universities and Allied Institutions, NASU, has ended without a resolution. The parties agreed to consult and meet before the end of the 7-day warning strike embarked by the unions if meaningful progress can be achieved.
They are going back to report the outcome of this decision of our understanding here. While on our part, We will continue to discuss the issues to conclusion.
This is a warning strike. This effort should continue, and hopefully before the end of the warning strikes, something reasonable and tangible will come from government. We appreciated their openness, but this struggle will continue. As soon as we receive a positive response from the higher authorities, we can assure the Nigerian public that the strike will be reviewed appropriately.
The two unions shut down services in the public universities on Monday to press home their demands, part of which is the release of withheld salaries following their strike of 2021. Meanwhile, conflict between the leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, and the Labour Party, LP, is deepening as members of the political commission of NLC has demanded the resignation of the national chairman of the Labour Party, Julius Abure. The members of the commission picketed the headquarters of the party, accusing the national chairman of corruption and poor management of affairs of the party. Joseph Otsen reports.
A watertight security at the National Secretariat of the Labour Party. But shortly, members of NLC will arrive singing solidarity songs. A little confrontation with the security personnel present, but it is just a matter of time before the protesters will force their way in, demanding the immediate resignation of the national chairman of Labour Party, Julius Abure.
And there are so many cases of forgery, of criminality, and then we now say, okay, why not step aside so that these things can be investigated? Instead of you stepping aside, you now schedule a convention.
What are you actually demanding?
Oh, we want to
for the resignation of
Abure.
Occupying the premises of the Labour Party headquarters with no official of the party on ground, the NLC members demanded for the formation of a caretaker transition committee to organize a legitimate and all-inclusive national convention for the party, recognition of the statutory membership of organized labor in the National Working Committee of the Labour Party, and constitution of the Board of Trustees of the party.
There have been court judgments declaring that this Labour Party belongs to NLC. There have been interventions by INEC, where an agreement was written and certain things were stipulated.
Meanwhile, leadership of Labour Party had earlier issued a statement denying the allegations. In Abuja, Joseph Otsen, NTA News.
Away from the crisis in that report now, do you know the origin of the Ghana must go expression? Well, if you know or you don't, that is a story for another day. For now, those who take delight in the derogatory expression, something is about to change, as it is now official that Ghana is here to stay. Till thy kingdom come, if you like. Already, the number 2 citizen of Ghana, Vice President Muhammadu Buhari, has adopted a Nigerian business mogul of global repute as his father figure, thus setting a higher stage for mutually inclusive bilateral relations between the two brother nations. What more, Mohammed Goni reports that the Ghanaian vice president has been in Maiduguri on a private visit hosted by his Nigerian father figure, Alhaji Muhammadu Ndebe. Truly, I'm sure you agree, Ghana must stay. Let's say this.
The Ghanaian Vice President Muhammadu Buhari, who was in Maiduguri on a private visit to the renowned business mogul Muhammadu Ndimi, whom he described as a father, deemed it necessary to pay homage on the Shehu of Borno, Abubakar bin Umar Garba El Kanemi.
We only read in history about the Borno Empire, the Borno Kingdom, one of the longest existing kingdoms on the continent. So I'm very happy to be in the palace here and to receive this warm welcome. I cherish very much the relationship between our two countries, Ghana and Nigeria. And I'm so happy that we will continue to build these bonds through our cultural relationships and our personal relationships.
are two black nations that are championing the crusade for the growth and development of Africa in the whole world. The relationship between the government of Nigeria and the government of Ghana need not to be overemphasized. And the most important thing is that we shall pray not only for your success, but for your success after your election.
Some of these things, one of these things happening, were just brought from elsewhere. We have been just hearing about it. But although Alhamdulillah, with the effort of the federal government and with the effort and kind assistance of His Excellency the Governor, people are now doing their normal business.
Dore Alfather used the opportunity to thank the Ghanaian authorities for allowing a large contingent to witness the recently held Kanem Borno Cultural Heritage. In Maiduguri, Mohammed Goni, NTA News.
Let's head to the courtroom now as the Federal High Court Abuja Division has continued proceedings in the trial of two relatives of the former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello in a 17-count amended charge filed by the EFCC against them. Ali Bello, Suleiman Daudu and companies allegedly linked to them are facing trial for laundering of 10.2 billion naira and using the proceeds to purchase choice landed property. One Yakubu Ghana, a legal practitioner who gave evidence as a prosecution witness, told the court how some of Yahaya Bello's alleged henchmen used dollars worth 950 million naira to purchase a Maitama Abuja property for him. But upon cross-examination, the witness denied some of his earlier claims. Under the amended charge filed by the EFCC, the defendants had pleaded not guilty, while ex-governor Yahaya Bello is yet to appear in court for his arraignment. In another development, the court has granted Edo State Deputy Governor leave to serve his processes on the PDP through substituted means. This is to press home his claims that he is the authentic Edo PDP governorship candidate for the November 2024 governorship election. Meanwhile, the court has dismissed an application filed by the Seventh-day Adventist Church seeking to restrain INEC and JAMB from conducting elections and examinations on Saturdays being the Sabbath, saying this infringes on their right to freedom of worship.
The court also agree with us today that there was a breach, but however noted that this is a permissible breach.
Justice James Omotosho held that allowing the sect's application would confer undue advantage on them, particularly since the law has designated Saturday as an official working day. Eliminating poverty through protection and empowerment of vulnerable people across the country is among top priorities of the present administration. Senior Special Assistant to the President on Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Delu Bulus Yakubu, emphasized this during an engagement with management of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA. Joseph Otsen has the report.
Nigeria is going through difficult economic times with high cost of living on a high. The present administration has outlined programs to improve living standards of many, especially the vulnerable, with skills acquisition, grants, and education to be self-reliant. This collaboration between the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation with NTA is to utilize its capability to help the target persons assess the benefits.
Creating awareness in the areas of out-of-school children, skill training for jobless and the poorest of the poorest, especially women and youth, empowerment program to encourage those in small businesses, mobilization of relief materials, foodstuffs, and other relevant social needs for those in distress condition.
And of course, this is part of our mandate as established by the Constitution. In view of this, we are ready to work with you in this assignment to alleviate the poverty of Nigerians and ensure that all ongoing activities and initiatives are well projected to reach your targeted beneficiaries.
The World Bank has reported that Number of poor Nigerians increased by 24 million between 2018 and 2023, a number the government hoped to reduce with its short and long-term plans. In Abuja, Joseph Utsen, NTA News.
Some commercials need to breathe now. Stay with us. Welcome back. The businessman needs to mind his business now. Benny, what's the latest?
So much to say in the world of business, and we'll start by telling you that amid the implementation of fiscal and tax reforms, experts are calling for gender inclusivity, which they believe is central to the actualization of sustainable development goals. This is as women in taxation are advocating waivers for women doing business, especially at the grassroots.
In gender budgeting, in taxation policy reform, we should also consider the interests of women.
At women in the grassroots, when you look at women in the informal sector, for example, some of the taxation that is being demanded from them are things that they can barely afford. So tax exemption or some sort of incentive for such women is very important.
I'm proposing that within the period of their maternity leave, can we skip their tax deduction so that they have enough money to take care of the babies.
And away from tax, oil prices edged lower on Wednesday after hitting multi-month highs in the previous session as investors braced for the U.S. Federal Reserve's interest rate policy announcement. Brent crude futures for May fell 62 cents to $86.76 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate futures for April delivery, which expired Wednesday, settlement fell 71 cents to $82.76 a barrel. The more active May WTI contract was at $82.11 a barrel, down 62 cents. And a quick look at the markets in Nigeria. Investors lost 167.65 billion naira as the all share index declined by 0.28% to close at 104,256.81 basis points. Market capitalization also recorded a loss of 167.65 billion naira. The total volume traded declined by 2.73% to close at 298.65 million naira, valued at 6.84 billion naira, and traded in 8,248 deals. FBNH was the most traded stock by volume and value, with 38.76 million and 1.56 trillion units traded. At the close of trading, the market recorded 28 gainers, 22 losers, and 70 equities remained unchanged. Well, that is business news. News Extra continues with Iyenre. Iyenre, it's nice doing business with you.
Thank you, Benny. You know, talking about good business, it actually brings happiness. But there is a saying that good food is the foundation of genuine happiness. And this is why Aminu Umar visited the market in Kano to explore how good afafata, a rice delicacy that is now trending, is, and whether it can bring the needed happiness when consumed. Here's his findings.
Rice is regarded as one of the Nigeria's staple foods, with the production continuously rising and demand surging. This led to the proliferation of many rice milling companies in addition to many local millers. Majority of the rice milled by the industries find their way into the supermarkets and big shops, while the local one is available in the market.
This is the rice that is called afafata. It is the cheapest because the price ran from 1,700 to 1,800. Although it is the lowest in price, however, most of the people find it difficult to even negotiate and buy this one.
In the past, one will not feed a pigeon with this rice. Now, I find myself buying it and some cannot even afford it.
Rice vendors in this market who complained about the low patronage confirmed that afafata has been in existence long before now. It, however, came to limelight when some class of Nigerians resort to go for it as the last option, as it is sold they have a price of the normal rice.
Some will come and buy 2 things, some 3, some half a mudu, because they cannot afford a mudu. And the afafata is the least, but people go for it because of the economic hardship. Because of the economic hardship being experienced, people now neglect the good rice to buy the afafata rice.
Now, the fear of the dietitians is that it may be low in nutrients and may cause food poisoning.
The residue or the end product of normal rice, so definitely they won't even have the enough carbohydrate self in it, because it's actually the burnt rice. Before it even digests, it will actually stay for long in the stomach before it gets digested.
Afafata is the Hausa phrase that means to struggle, and the buyers of this rice are really struggling to survive. In Kano, Aminu Umar, NTA News.
Wow, Afafata. There you have it. The Savicom presidency has opened its doors of partnership to the Nigeria Police Force to enhance effective service delivery in community police drive. This was during an advocacy visit by the National Coordinator and Chief Executive Officer of Savicom to the headquarters of the Nigeria Police Force, Abuja. Kenneth Nani reports.
The Savicom presidency has the mandate to ensure quality service is provided to Nigerians. At the Nigeria Police Force headquarters, Abuja, Savicom acknowledges the police as a leading security outfit with direct contact with the public and extends a hand of partnership that will upscale the quality of services being provided by the officers and men of the force. Take, for instance, ensuring timely resolution of complaints by the public. Building public trust and confidence in the security personnel is another area Savicom is urging the police to take seriously. With its efficient feedback mechanism, Savicom says it will monitor compliance nationwide and report findings to the appropriate authorities.
We are coming to review their key service improvement tool, which is the service charter. So we're going to engage with them and improve and review this service charter that is due. And so we're going to look at developing new standards, working on the old standards to improve on how well we're going to measure and track performance around customer service in the police force.
Embracing the open arms of collaboration with Savicom for improvement, the Nigeria Police says it has leveraged the community policing initiative to pluck low-hanging fruits in terms of rendering quality service to the public.
We have reduced cost of policing, we have reduced loss of lives, loss of property, loss of manpower, loss of energy. You cannot even quantify the gains and the value that is added.
Both parties are on the same page on the review of the Force Service Charter, personnel capacity building, quarterly meetings and stock taking. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
A midnight fire has consumed about 40 shops in Zawachiki area of Kombotso local government of Kano State. Public Relations Officer, Kano State Fire Service, Sabino Yusuf Abdullahi, who confirmed the inferno, says investigation is still on to ascertain the cause of the fire. Aminu Umar reports.
Which occurred at 12 midnight, was alleged to have been ignited when electricity was restored to the area. Confirming the incident, the Kano State Fire Service says investigation is ongoing to identify the cause of the inferno.
When they arrive, they continue quenching the fire. Then in that fire incident, there is no any life loss or injury.
Traders affected who called for government assistance commended the State Fire Service and other relevant stakeholders for prompt intervention.
We can get assistance, of course, we'll welcome it, but the overall assistance we need is from Almighty Allah. We are praying for Allah to come into a situation, and we also pray to Allah to prevent a future occurrence of all this ugly situation.
We need this our prayer to government. They should, especially our local government. We thank the chairman. He came here in the morning, very early in the morning. He came here because he's concerned about it, and we are appealing to the state government to help the traders at least with some token especially those who they have the small business here.
40 shops are said to be affected out of more than 70 shops leased by the Kumboso Local Government Council. In Kano, Amin Umar, NTA News.
Let's take another break. Remain tuned. Let's have a bit on sports now.
World and African record holder Nigeria's Tobi Amusan completed a hat-trick of African Games title as she cruised home in 12.89 seconds to win the 100 meters hurdles at the 13th African Games in Accra, Ghana.
Coming in second place, it's Amusan who defends her title. Sidoni comes across in second place to take the silver medal. Madagascar's Fiade Nanchua Sidoni does really well to get a silver, but Tobi Amusan.
Chidi Anthony Okezie secured another gold for Nigeria after a blistering performance, clocking 45.06 seconds in the 400 meters men's final.
He's in the lead at the moment. Chidi Anthony, bronze medalist from 5 years ago. The Nigerian is going to turn it into a gold medal for Nigeria.
However, Nigerian's Esda Joseph was not so lucky as she cruised home in 51.61 seconds to claim the silver medal behind Kenya's Mary Maru, who clocked 50.57 seconds to clinch the gold medal in the women's 400 meters final.
Like Beckham, she's going to come out here in second place. Now it's a race to the finish line. Mary Mora is coming strongly. So is that Malikani. But it's Mary Mora. She's way gone. Way gone. Mary Mora, African Games champion.
Ahead of the double-header international friendlies against Ghana and Mali, Super Eagles interim coach Finidi George says his task is to ensure that he gets the best of the players and get Nigeria on a sound footing once again.
AFCON is gone, so these are two games that are very, very crucial to Nigeria. So we'll take it seriously and make sure we get the best out of these games.
The former Super Eagles winger has engaged the 22-man squad in their first training session in Marrakesh, Morocco. The Super Eagles will trade tackles against Ghana this Friday, while the second game will be on Tuesday against Mali, still in Marrakesh.
Congratulations to Nigerians making us proud in the world of sports. And of course, that concludes News Extra tonight. Many thanks for your time. Do have a good night.